Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are kicking off my makeup collection and declutter series. So as you can see in front of you here, I have all of my primers, foundations, concealers, powders, setting sprays, basically everything for your face. So today I'm going to be showing you all of the products that I have on hand. If there's anything here that I feel like I don't really like or use, we're going to declutter it and kind of just go through everything together. And then every day this week I'm going to be going through a different part of my makeup collection for you guys. So hopefully you'll enjoy this little series, and there's a lot to go through today, so I'm going to stop rambling and we're going to just get into it. So as you can see here, my collection of primers is probably actually the biggest collection of all of my face stuff. Somehow I've ended up with a lot of different products. So we're gonna go through these quickly, and I'm gonna talk about the ones that I know I definitely want to keep. So one I can say right off the bat is not going anywhere is the Too Faced Hangover RX Replenishing Face Primer. This is something that I use all the time. It's one of my favorite products. It's a silicone-free primer that is very hydrating and nourishing, and it smells like coconuts, and this is just really great for making your foundation go on really smoothly without being heavy and pore clogging. So I know this is something I'm definitely going to keep. Now, something I also know I'm definitely going to keep is this primer here. This is the Hourglass Veil Mineral Primer, and I just got this at Gen Beauty in LA, so I literally have not even used it yet. But this is an SPF 15 primer. It uses all physical sunscreens, and it's supposed to be like a really nice smoothing base for your makeup. So I definitely am curious to give this a try. Something else new that I'm going to be keeping is this Milani Prime Light Face Primer. I just got this. This is a new launch from the drugstore. This is an illuminating primer, and since I just picked this up, I definitely want to use it more and see how it works out for me. Let me just swatch a little bit of this on the back of my hand for you guys so you can see. So this is a very luminous primer that almost has like an opalescent finish to it. It's not like glittery or anything at all. It doesn't have any chunks of shimmer or anything like that in it. It just gives the skin like a really nice, pretty radiance to it. So I have been liking this, and it is very smoothing and hydrating, and it's not like sticky or anything like that. So definitely going to be using this some more. Something else I think I am going to be keeping is my Becca Ever Matte Poreless Priming Perfector. This is something I use more in the summertime because this is a really heavy-duty oil controlling primer, and it has a very weird texture. It almost feels like glue when you put it on your face until it dries. Like, it does dry down to a completely smooth finish, but it's really tacky when you first apply it. And I only like to use this on areas where I get really, really oily. So right around my nose, my forehead, and my chin. I do not put this all over my face because it is way, way too drying to use like on my cheeks. So in the winter, my skin tends to be a little bit calmer and less oily, so I don't use this as much, but in the summertime, this is something I reach for a lot. So I'm gonna definitely be holding on to this for when the weather gets warm. Now, something I probably am going to pass on to a friend is this e.l.f. Mineral Primer. I don't think this is a bad primer at all by any means. This is a very like silicone-y, just a clear face smoothing, pore minimizing primer. It's nice, definitely, and it does what it says it will do. It definitely smooths out skin and makes your makeup go on nicely, but I don't tend to use silicone-based primers like this a whole ton. I feel like they have a tendency to kind of break me out and clog my skin up because I'm very acne prone and sort of sensitive to those kinds of things, so I try to minimize the use of this type of product. And I just feel like it's a full size. I got this sent in an influencer Vox box, and I'd rather have a friend use it that will actually make good instead of having it just sit unloved on my counter. The same thing basically goes for these two samples. This is the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer, and this is the Trust Fund Beauty Gimme Good Face Primer. Both of these are almost identical in texture to the e.l.f. one. They're both clear silicone-based primers that I really just don't use that often. And I got the full size of this at Gen Beauty, and I actually put it in my giveaway bin because I'd rather give it to you guys, since obviously I already have a sample of it and I have tried it before. I just, again, don't really find myself using these type of primers a lot. I may keep one just in case, like on a random special occasion, I'd like to have the option to use this type of primer, but like in my day-to-day life, not something that I reach for. So I think I'm gonna just keep the Smashbox for comparison purposes, and just in case I may, for like a special occasion, want to use it. But this Gimme Good Face one from Trust Fund Beauty is gonna find a new home. Now, on the other hand, this Smashbox primer is interesting because this is a primer water. So obviously this is silicone free and is also alcohol free and oil free. It's very hydrating and light. This is just a nice mist to make your face a little bit damp, so that way when you apply your foundation, it doesn't stick to any dry patches or anything like that. And I do really like this product, so I know I'm going to be keeping this. Now, it's funny, this primer I actually pulled out of my disappointing products bin because I'm going to be doing eventually a disappointing products video for you guys. And I wanted to love this because I love Pacifica products so much, but I honestly felt like this primer really did not work for me. And I tried it a whole bunch, but it's just not my favorite. This is an oil controlling primer that is silicone free, so I thought that would be perfect. But I just felt that this primer was way too, like, almost greasy on my skin. It is a clear sort of like liquidy primer, but it just like it's very hydrating actually, which in a way I guess is nice for making your skin not produce more oil. I just felt like my skin got way too shiny whenever I wore this, which is the opposite of what I wanted to happen. So I think this is going back in the quote-unquote bad bin, so I can talk about it more in the disappointing products video, but I just thought I would share it with you guys today. So let's talk about this guy here. This is the Estee Edit Pore Vanishing Stick. This is kind of cool. This is a stick-based primer that has like an oil controlling core. So this is definitely the only product I have like this in my collection. And I'm pretty sure this is also a silicone primer, but it's thicker and a little bit stickier. It's sort of like the Benefit Professional in stick form, basically. And I do actually like using this just around the areas where I have large pores, especially for when I'm doing my makeup for filming or for a night out. Not something I necessarily use every single day, but I do like it for when I need a little bit of extra smoothing and whatnot. So I think I will be holding on to this. Now this primer here is interesting. This is the Tarte BB Tinted Primer, which I've actually used up quite a bit of this. The packaging is really beat up and it's still good until like September of this year. This has physical sunscreens in it, and it's interesting because this is a tinted base. It has a very moussey texture to it. And it basically is just like a sort of light, almost like a BB cream. Well, hence it is a BB tinted primer, so you could kind of use this as a base or as a primer underneath other foundation. It's a little bit light for me, as you can see, or at least like the back of my hand right now is pretty tan, so it looks a little ghostly on me. But in the winter time, this is not a bad match. Or I could put this on underneath a foundation that's a little bit darker, and then it would work pretty well for me. So I think I'm going to keep this because I'm honestly like more than halfway done with the tube, and I do wear it a lot, so I know it will continue to be loved. Now I have two more drugstore primers here. This one is the Milani Prime Shield, and this one is the Maybelline Master Prime, and this one is blurring and smoothing, this one is mattifying and pore minimizing. The Milani Primer is a lot like the e.l.f. one. It is just a sort of clear silicone gel primer for smoothing out the skin. And then the Maybelline one is interesting because this is almost sort of like a lotion. So this one's a little bit more hydrating while it is also like smoothing and blurring on the skin. So I do like to have at least one drugstore primer on hand when I do tutorials for you guys. So I'm going to keep one of these. I think I'm going to keep the Maybelline, and I'm going to declutter the Milani one because I do have the other Milani primer in my stash as well to show you guys already. So this one here is interesting. This is the Nude Sticks Blur Pencil. This is something you could use on your lips, you could use it on your face. It is just a very sort of like sticky balm, and it's totally translucent, and it just helps to fill in any pores. It's sort of similar to the Estee Edit one, but it's a little bit more versatile. So I know I want to keep this because I do really like having this product on hand. Then I have this Bare Minerals Primetime Foundation Primer. To be honest, I haven't even really given this a fair shot yet. I got this in Gen Beauty in New York in September, and I haven't really played around with it a whole lot yet. This is a gel sort of based primer, sort of like the other ones, but it feels a little bit more slippy and liquidy. It's a little less thick than the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. I kind of feel like I need to give this one more of a proper go before I decide what I want to do with it. So I'm gonna hold on to this for now. And then this last thing here is from YSL. This is their Touche Éclat Blur Perfector, which is really interesting. This is like a light pink, mostly translucent balm that you can apply over or under your makeup. It's supposed to help to control oil and shine, but also give your skin sort of a nice dewy, luminous finish, which is kind of weird that it both can be dewy and oil controlling. I honestly, a lot of the reason I like to keep this is because the packaging is so beautiful. I got this in an Influencer Vox box, what feels like a million years ago. And I don't reach for this as much as I probably should, but I do like to keep it on hand, even as just, you know, nice props in photographs, which is a weird beauty blogger thing of me to say. All right, so moving on to foundations. Obviously, this is a way more reasonable sized collection. Should be much faster for us to go through this pile. And honestly, I'm probably going to be keeping most of this because I did just sort of recently declutter my foundation stash not that long ago. So most of these are things that are either new or that I know that I definitely use and like. This first one here on the end is the Bare Minerals Bare Pro Foundation. This is a powder foundation, it's pressed, and I got this at Gen Beauty New York in the fall, and I love this. I use this either sometimes like to set down a BB cream or a like lighter coverage product, kind of like using them together to build it up to a more full coverage, or I'll wear this just over a primer or all by itself on days where I want to look a little bit more natural. It gives your skin a really nice finish and it still looks like not too caked on and heavy, which I really, really like. So this is something definitely keeping. Now this one is from the drugstore. This is the Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Foundation, and this is probably my favorite Maybelline foundation, and a lot of people love this because it's really great for being oil controlling without looking too flat and heavy on the skin. This one is not quite as long wearing as the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Matte, which is another really great drugstore mattifying foundation. So I think I will be keeping both of these because these are things I definitely reach for on the regular. But the Pro Matte is a little bit more long wearing. This one I just find it a little bit dry, more drying on the skin than this one is. This here is my Milani Conceal and Perfect 2-in-1 foundation and concealer. As you can see, I have been using this a ton. I am like more than halfway done with the bottle, so eventually at some point I will be repurchasing this because this is one of my go-to foundations and it only costs like $10, which is so incredible. This is a very thick foundation and it definitely provides very full coverage, but it doesn't feel overly heavy on the skin. Like I like how hydrating that it is, and it wears really, really beautifully. So I definitely will be keeping this and recommend if you're looking for something with like that nice satin finish on the skin and you don't mind something that's a little bit thicker, to give this one a try. Anybody who's been watching my blog or following my channel for a while will not be surprised to see this bad boy in here. This is the IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Plus Color Correcting Full Coverage Cream. This is like my ride or die. If I could only pick one foundation to wear for the rest of forever, it would probably be this. It has SPF 50, so it definitely gives me that extra boost of sun protection. And while it's very hydrating and nourishing on the skin like a regular CC cream, it has as much coverage as a foundation. So this is something I use almost every single day. Like I rotate through my other foundations, but this is sort of like my normal everyday go-to. Now this, on the other hand, I pulled out of my bad bin, and this is where it's going back to when this is over. This is the Tarte Amazonian Clay BB Tinted Moisturizer, and I wanted to try something out as an alternative to my IT Cosmetics just to see what else was out there, but I really did not like this. I felt it was too greasy on my skin. It made me look way too oily by the end of the day, and the coverage is just not as good as the IT Cosmetics one. So this one definitely disappointed me. If I can find somebody else that it would work for, like that would be great, because this is basically almost full. I haven't really used it a whole lot, maybe like 5 or 6 times. So I'd like to find another home for it, but this is, yeah, going in my disappointing products video for sure. Now this is the newest foundation to my collection. This is the NYX Total Control foundation. This is in the shade Natural, and I actually picked up a second bottle at Gen Beauty, but they gave me the wrong shade because I ran out of this one. So this is the only bottle I need, but that's fine. The only thing about this I don't like is that I feel like I'm going to go through this bottle so quickly. You get less than half an ounce of product, which most foundations come in an outsized bottle, so this is definitely for the amount of money you're paying, like per ounce. it's very expensive. So the idea behind this foundation is that you control the coverage based on how many drops of foundation you use. So you only need like 1 or 2 drops for sheer coverage, and then you add more to build it up to medium to full. I just find that I tend to like a medium to full look, so I need to use a lot of product to cover my entire face with this. So I have a feeling that this is not going to last me a very long time. But other than that, the actual finish of this foundation is really beautiful. It's very liquidy, it spreads out really nicely on the skin, and it leaves your skin looking very flawless and smooth. So I do really like the way this looks, especially for filming. I just worry that in terms of the value, it's not the best. And then here are just my 2 lowly little samples of BB cream. This one I just got at Gen Beauty. This is the Purely's BB Tinted Moist Cream, and I like that they reformulated this to use physical sunscreen, so I'm really excited to try it because the old version had chemical sunscreens and it didn't really get along well with me. And then this one is something I got in a subscription box, I think. This is the IPKN New York Moist and Firm BB. I haven't had a chance to try this out yet, but this one is SPF 45. So these are things I definitely want to give a go to and see how they work. All right, so these are my concealers. Again, this is a pretty reasonable pile, I think, for a beauty blogger. Nothing too crazy. Some of these I know for sure are definitely staying in the yes pile. Number 1 is the Tarte Shape Tape. You guys are probably sick of me talking about this and everyone else and their mom, because this is an amazing full coverage concealer that does not crease. I actually need to get a backup bottle. I was going to order it last night from Ulta, and then the shade I wanted sold out, so I'm going to have to see if they have it in the store. Then this one is something that I've actually, it's grown on me. I didn't love it at first, but I like it the more I use it. This is the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. I got this at Gen Beauty in New York, and I've been using it quite a bit to highlight and brighten under my eyes. This is the shade Light, so it's just maybe about 1 shade lighter than my natural skin tone, so it is very good for that highlighting effect. This is a much lighter and sheerer formula than the Shape Tape, but if you don't need to have super heavy coverage and you want something to look a little bit lighter and more natural, this is a nice concealer option. This one here is from Maybelline. This is one of my favorite drugstore concealers. This is the Maybelline Master Conceal. I love that this is in a tube. It has a nice precise applicator, so that way you don't squeeze out too much product at a time. And this is actually, it feels very light on the skin, but it packs a lot of pigment. So it is very good at covering without looking heavy or cakey on the skin. So I definitely will be keeping this. I have a feeling this tube is pretty much more than halfway empty, but 1 tube will last you forever. I've used this a ton, and also being in a tube, I feel like it's going to last longer than something like with a doe foot where you're actually contaminating it with bacteria from your face. Speaking of which, these ones are the Kat Von D Lock-It Concealer Creams. These came out of my disappointing products bin, which is back to where they are going after this video. I wanted to like these. I was really excited to try them, but they were just not for me for 2 reasons. Number 1, the shades they picked out for me were way too light. This one here is, I think, the lightest shade that the concealer comes in besides the white, which is like for super porcelain people, and that is not me. I don't know why they chose to give me this concealer, because it's way too light even to highlight with. And then this one was a good highlighting shade for me, but the look at this, the doe foot broke off and is now like buried somewhere inside the tube, so I can't even use this anymore, which makes me pretty bummed out. I felt like, though, this was not as great as covering as my Tarte Shape Tape, so I just never really wanted to reach for it. So that was super disappointing. Those are going back in the bad bin. This one also came out of the bad bin. This is the e.l.f. HD Concealer, I believe it's called. This is in the shade Light. Now, there are only like 3 shades of this concealer. There were like Fair, Light, and Deep. And for the shade Light, this is way too dark on me, and it oxidizes on top of that. I used this in my drugstore tutorial, and it looked like I just had dark splotches all over my face. It was pretty terrifying. But I just didn't love this. I feel like the shade was not great. The actual texture of the concealer itself wasn't bad, but it wasn't anything to write home about. So this one, no bueno. Now this, on the other hand, is brand new to me. This is the Milani Retouch and Erase Concealer. I literally just took this out of the packaging this morning, so I haven't even had a chance to use it yet. So I will be reporting back. I got this at Gen Beauty in LA, so it is brand new to my stash. Excited to give it a try. And then these 2 are little baby samples that I've had for a little while, and a little goes a long way with both of these, and I love them. So they're lasting me quite a long time, and I just haven't invested in the full size because I have a lot of other concealer, but I do like them. This is the Bye Bye Under Eye Illumination Concealer. I love Bye Bye Under Eye. It's really thick hydrating concealer, but it doesn't look heavy on the skin. And if you have really dark under eye circles or suffer from dry under eyes, you definitely should give this one a try because it is fantastic. And then the Well People BioCorrect Concealer has a very similar texture to the Bye Bye Under Eye, but this is all natural, which I think is great. So if you're somebody who's really into green beauty, Well People is an amazing brand, and I really, really like both of these concealers a lot. And then here we have my powders. So these are more like finishing and setting powders. And I don't powder my face, well, I should say I powder my face a lot more now than I used to. So I feel like I have a greater appreciation for these products in the last like 6 months than I ever used to in my life. One that I know I'll be keeping, this is a loose powder from Kat Von D. This is the Lock-It Setting Powder, and I've been using this a lot more lately if I just want to set down my makeup. It definitely leaves a matte finish, but it's a satiny matte. It's not really cakey and flat, so I do like that. But the only bad thing about this is it's not the greatest for oil control. I feel like it looks really, really good for like 3 or 4 hours, but then by like hour 5 and 6, I do start to look a little dewy, so I kind of need to touch up. So that's the one downside if you're very oily like me with this particular product. Then I have my IT Cosmetics Your Skin But Better CC Plus Airbrush Perfecting Powder. This is a powder that does have coverage in it. So this is really great for any time you want to not only set your makeup, but add a little bit of extra coverage. So this is something I really like layering on top of for, say, like the Tarte primer or something else that's tinted, or a BB cream or something like that, that's a little bit more on the sheer side, and then I can powder and add more coverage. This also has SPF 50, which is great, gives you the little extra boost of sun protection, especially if you want to reapply during the day. So you can add a little bit of extra sun protection as the day goes on without disturbing your makeup. So I do really, really like this a lot. Then I have the NYX HD Finishing Powder. This is one I've been reaching for a ton over the last year or so. This is just a translucent setting powder. I don't find that it adds a ton of flashback in photography or anything like that, but you kind of have to use HD powders sparingly, because if you use any kind of lights or flash, they can give you a sort of white cast on your skin. But generally for day-to-day wear, this is a nice setting powder just to make your makeup stay in place without adding any extra coverage to it. Then I have the Rimmel Stay Matte Powder. Now, I honestly haven't used this a ton because I felt like it did make me look overly dry and cakey. And some people swear by this product, but I sort of am not really sure what the whole hype is about. I think I'm probably going to ultimately pass this on to somebody else. I might give it like one more go just to see if maybe, I don't know, if it will end up working out for me, but it has never been my favorite. Then I have my Maybelline Fit Me Matte and Poreless Powder. This one is in the shade 120 Classic Ivory. So again, this is a setting powder that will add a little bit of coverage. I definitely prefer my IT Cosmetics one over this one, but this one is not bad. It's a nice drugstore option. So I do like to have this one for tutorials and such if I want to give you guys an affordable option. And then these are all of my samples of powders. I have a whole bunch of random stuff here. I have 3 of the Bare Minerals Mineral Veil. Like, why do I have this? Why do I have so many of these? I really do not need 3. I may keep 1 just for the sake of, you know, being able to review this and try it out. But I'm definitely going to pass on the other 2 because I do not need 3 of them. Then I have the Cover FX. I believe this is the matte setting powder. Yes. I really like this a lot. This is a product I think that is very underrated. A lot of people don't talk about this loose setting powder, but this stuff definitely does set your makeup down really beautifully and keeps it looking matte and fresh all day long. And even though this is a sample and it is a very small little container, a little goes a long way. So that's why I feel like it's lasting me forever. This is something new I just got. This is the Laura Mercier Translucent Setting Powder. So I just got this to try out. I got this little sample in some kind of kit. Don't even remember where, but I definitely am excited to try this because so many people rave about this product. Same thing goes for the Makeup Forever Ultra HD Setting Powder. I haven't really given this a whirl yet, and this is another like cult classic setting powder, so I definitely need to try this more. This one's from Tarte. This is the Smooth Operator Micro Clay Finishing Powder. I feel like I used this a few times, but it was alright. It wasn't like anything that blew my mind, so I might pass this one along to somebody else. This is another cult classic product I picked up. This is the e.l.f. HD Under Eye Setting Powder. I've only used this like once or twice, so I definitely want to give it more time so I can give a proper review on how it works. I have the Smashbox Halo Perfecting Powder. I haven't even used this at all, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, look, the seal is still on it. So I don't even know. I might pass this on to a friend because I obviously have plenty of powders to try and I'm not super curious about this one. And then this is the IT Cosmetic Bye Bye Pores Pressed Powder. I have used this sample a few times because this I liked as an alternative to the CC, which has some kind of coverage. This is an entirely translucent powder. So I think I would like to play around with this a little bit more. And then to wrap things up, I have all of my setting sprays. Honestly, I'm probably going to keep all of these because I'm crazy, and also because I would eventually like to do like a really good thorough comparison of them. Maybe like use one foundation every day for a week and then use a different setting spray each day and see if there's any difference in the wear comparing them all. If that's something that sounds cool to you, definitely let me know in the comments down below. So basically, to go through these really quick, I have the Makeup Revolution Pro Fix Oil Control Fixing Spray. The mist on this is really nice. It does, I think, help to control oil, but maybe not like super amazingly, but it doesn't make you look too dewy compared to some of the other ones, so I do appreciate that. I have the L'Oreal Infallible Pro Set and Spray. Like this I've had for forever. I use this a ton. I feel like this still has a decent amount of product left in it, but it will probably be the first one that I actually run out of because I have used this a lot and it definitely does, I know, make your makeup last longer. This is the Pixi by Petra Makeup Fixing Mist. This one has rose and green tea. This one I like actually a lot more under my makeup than I do over my makeup because the actual spray nozzle on this, like I feel like it attacks your face. It is very, like it puts on way too much product, and I feel like it would actually ruin my makeup if I was to spray it over my makeup because it would just glob on way too much product. But if it's something to like hydrate my skin underneath my foundation, I do think that this is really nice. Then we have the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Setting Spray. This is like $4. It's definitely the most affordable of all of these options, but it does do a really nice job of setting down your makeup, and the spray on this one is also really fine and nice. Then of course you got MAC Fix Plus. Which beauty blogger doesn't have this or talk about it at some point or another? I use this more to foil my eyeshadows than I do as a setting spray for my face, but I'd be curious to see how it works for me as a facial setting spray and if it made me, you know, like too oily throughout the day. And then I have samples of two of Urban Decay's most famous setting sprays, the All Nighter and the D-Slick. This one is for oil control. This one is just a general setting spray. This is in like super old packaging. Probably because this is super old. I honestly don't even know how good this is anymore, so I may have to chuck this just purely because it's old, but it's not bad. And I know the Urban Decay was like what started the makeup setting spray craze with this particular product, and it definitely does do a good job of keeping everything in place all day long. So I know this situation looks a little bit ridiculous, but all in all, it's, you know, as far as beauty bloggers go, not terrible for all of the face and base products that I own. I do obviously really like to review and sample things, which is why I have so many different kinds of primers and concealers and powders and whatnot, especially for doing tutorials of different makeup looks. I like to have different options. So I hope you guys enjoyed going through my makeup collection with me. I hope this was helpful, especially if you were considering purchasing any of these products, just to hear my thoughts on them and why they did or did not work for me. If you enjoyed decluttering and makeup collection videos, definitely give this one a thumbs up. I really appreciate your support, and make sure that you stay tuned for the rest of the week to see the rest of my makeup collection videos. We're going to be doing lips and eye stuff and like blush and bronzer and highlight and all kinds of good things, so definitely stay tuned for that. And then after this week I will return to my normal posting schedule of Mondays and Fridays. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Bye!